Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Sunday. It is January 11th, and it is the end of the race week over at Santa Anita. And Santa Anita, kudos to them. They put together a really nice card on this Sunday. I don't know if this was the plan, but there's a lot of nice fillies and mares that are running throughout this card. So I don't know if they just kind of dedicated the Sunday to the ladies or what the deal was, but a lot of nice fillies and mares running all throughout the card. So I've got a couple win bets that I like here throughout the card. So let's get started over at Santa Anita. So they start their card out in their first race with a 12 o'clock post time. That's 12 o'clock Pacific, so 2 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. I'm going to skip over the first few races. I'm going to move over to the fifth race. The fifth race is one of the co-features today. It is the Grade 3 Las Flores. And this is, as I mentioned, Grade 3. It's a $100,000 purse. They're going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And these are fillies and mares 4-year-olds and up. And they put a nice field together here, as should be expected. And I've got a win bet I'm going to make here. Now, I've given this horse out the last few times she had run. She has helped us. The last 2 times she has won for us. And, I think I've been saying that I think this was a future stakes performer, stakes winner for the Richard Mandela barn. And that is the 5-horse, who is Magnificat. So she gets her chance to, make me a genius here and win a stakes race. So I really think that would be, next on her list of accomplishments, which I feel like is going to be a long list because she's really talented. So Magnificat, she's got 3 starts to her career. She's 2 winners out of the 3 and a third. That third coming in a turf sprint, which she ran over at Del Mar last summer to start her career. She ran a great race that day. But, when they moved her on to the dirt, that seems to be what she really likes to do. She had a nice, hard-fought win in her maiden race over at Santa Anita, and she ended up beating Into the Hall, who Into the Hall looks like she should be a nice horse as well. And then she followed that up with a really nice allowance win over at Del Mar. So, I thought she showed a lot of fight in the stretch and a lot of willingness to run. And I think that, she'll probably ultimately like running longer. Now, I know they had this horse entered in the Grade 1 La Brea on opening day, but she ended up scratching out of that race. But looks like she's been training well. And, this is a spot that, it's certainly not the Grade 1 La Brea, but this would be a nice, stakes win here to start off her stakes career. So Magnificat gets Mirko de Muro on her again. He's done great work with her in her 3 starts. She's 3-1. I would expect her to be somewhere around there. There's going to be some other horses that do get bet. So I think we'll get a good price on Magnificat, and I think she's worth a win bet today in the 5th race. Now let's move over to the 7th race of the day. 7th race is also a dirt sprint. They're running 6.5 on the dirt, and it's a first level allowance race for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and up. And I think there's another nice field of fillies and mares. So again, kudos to Del Mar for putting together a really nice Sunday card. So, I think there's some nice performers here, some horses who have done some nice work. But I'm going to go with a win bet here in the 7th race on the 4-horse, who is Our Moonlight. Our Moonlight comes in for Dean Peterson, and Tiago Pereira takes the call. Now, you'll see she's a very well-bred horse. She's by Tappet out of an Unbridled Song mare. And, that's certainly, really nice breeding there. And, she's, kind of a lightly raced horse for, being 4 years old now. So she's had 4 starts, a win, a second, and a third in her career. She started her career out really nicely back in late 2004. That was towards the opening of the 2004 meet at Santa Anita. She ended up winning her race in her first time out, which, that always gets my attention when a horse could win first time out. It shows a lot of quality. A lot of, big-time horses have done that. So, she followed that up with a pretty good allowance race. She ended up running second to a horse named Barbara T. And Barbara T was a really nice horse for Michael McCarthy. So she ran a nice second to her. So they thought a lot of Our Moonlight, where they put her in, right into graded stakes, quality horses here with the Summer Oaks, the Grade 2 Summer Oaks. So that was her first time in graded races, and it was her first time going around 2 turns. She ended up running, a respectable race up against Cash Call and Hoenn. And, I thought she ran nicely there, for her first time in stakes company, as well as, 2 turns. So, Peterson ended up running her right around the opening of the Del Mar meet, which she ended up going 2 turns in a route race on the turf. So I don't know if that was the plan or that was just a race that was up or what the deal was. But, she didn't really like that. I mean, it was just really not a good experience for her, it seemed. She, wasn't running comfortably and just ran, towards the back of the field. So something obviously went amiss because we hadn't seen her since that, around opening day of Del Mar of last summer. So, we'll, just kind of chalk that up as that wasn't her day. But I look at her training. She's training really nicely. And kudos to Dean Pedersen. Dean Pedersen, with a lot of breaks in the training over at Santa Anita for weather-wise, it looks like she hasn't had a break in her training. She's been working out pretty steadily and pretty nicely. And Pedersen really does well with horses off the layoff. So, she's 7-2 in the program. I expected her to run a really nice race here. She's done well sprinting. This is what she'll do here. I think the 6.5 is a nice distance for her. I don't know what they're looking forward to doing, later down the line. But, I think getting off to a win here off this long layoff is probably something the owners, the connections would all like to do. And, Pereira and Pedersen really make a nice team, too, when they team up. So I'm going to make a win bet in the 7th race on the 4-horse, Our Moonlight. All right, now I'm finally going to move over to the 10th race of the day. 10th race of the day, this is a 6-furlong grass sprint, so that's a flat grass course. These are maiden special weights, and these are fillies. Again, these are 3-year-olds. So, again, the card is up and down full of really nice fillies. And this race, this is a very nice field of horses, some really big purchase prices, some really blue blood type of breeding in some of these horses. So maybe we'll see some future stars come out of this 6-furlong turf sprint. And, just tough field, big field here. A great way to end the day there at Santa Anita. So I've got a win bet I'm going to make here, that being on the 8-horse, Urak. Now, Urak comes out of the John Sadler barn. Juan Hernandez takes the call here. And this horse is really bred very nicely. She's by Tappet. And she's out of a mare named Yawkey Way. Now, Yawkey Way, for those who follow baseball, that's where Fenway Park resides on Yawkey Way. So I've not been to Fenway or Yawkey Way, but I know that name. And I know Yawkey Way has actually produced some nice horses as well. So, Urak comes from a nice family. Yawkey Way produced, several winners, including a nice winner in Spun to Run. And if you remember Spun to Run, he was a winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile back at Santa Anita a few years back when the Breeders' Cup was run there. So some nice bloodlines here for the 8-horse Urak. And also, she shows a very nice race. She has one start to her career here. She ran, towards the end of the Del Mar summer meeting. She ran a 2-turn race on the turf there in a maiden special weight. She just got up short, ended up getting beaten by Brave Deb. Brave Deb was a nice winner that day for Richard Mandela, and also Brave Deb came back to win at her next race. So Brave Deb was a nice horse. I think this is probably a live race here that Urak comes out of. I give a lot of credit to Urak to run so nicely and her first start out running around 2 turns. So she shortens up to 6 furlongs here. Her training looks pretty nice. Apparently, I don't know if it was a planned vacation for her or just things just didn't work out. Races may not have filled, but we haven't seen her since that race at the close of the Del Mar meet. So, this is her first race out. Certainly John Sadler can get horses ready to go. His horses have been running very nicely, this meeting, although it's been brief, there's only been a few racing days, but, John Sadler's horses have been showing up and looking good. Urak is going to probably be your favorite or right there. She's 2-1 in the program. We'll take 2-1 if we can get her. But it'll be a nice race to watch. I expect some nice things out of Urak with Juan Hernandez at 2-1. So we'll make a win bet on the 8-horse in the 10th race on Urak. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Sunday, January 11th, we've got 3 win bets in this race card over at Santa Anita, the great race place, and they put on a nice race card. So we're going to start out in the 5th race with the 5-horse, Magnificat. The 7th race, the 4-horse, Our Moonlight. And in the 10th race, we're going to make a win bet on the 8-horse Urak. So those are 3 win bets I'm going to make today. If you want to make those win bets, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to use those horses in some of your multi-race wagers, you can do that as well. A couple of them fall into that late pick 5, falls into that late pick 3, turf pick 3. All those bets seem to be very nice over at Santa Anita. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing on this Sunday. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips. As we know, that can make all the difference in the world in winning and losing. So let's hope we can get some of those. So as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today. Thanks to everybody who's hit that subscribe button from the start as well as the most recent ones. I appreciate everybody. You can always hit the like or dislike button. Make comments, good comments or bad comments. I promise to respond to everything, and let's create a discussion. So again, thanks so much for watching and listening to the picks here at Fast Horses today. Let's finish up this week strongly in this race week at Santa Anita, the great race place. We'll see you back next week for more coverage.